Hello everybody, my name is Cameron and welcome back to another video. Today, I am here with my second Youtooz ranking. Now, I think it was in May of last year, I ended up ranking the 8 Dead by Daylight Youtooz that were out at the time. And since then, I have actually managed to get waves 3 and 4 in their entirety. I bought them when they came out, and then they shipped. The third wave shipped not too long after I released that first video. And wave 4 just got here, so I figured we got double the Youtooz, so now we have double the characters to rank. So, I'm trying to fix my phone here. This tripod. Try to get to ranking. Alright, so we have a total of 16 Youtooz to rank. For some reason, the numbers always start at 0, so we have numbers 0 through 15, 0 to 15, even though I wish it was just 1 to 16. That would make more sense. But let's get started in last place, which will probably never, ever change, and that is Fong Min. Besides, me being a really... me really enjoying Dead by Daylight for the most part and playing Dead by Daylight, something that always knocks enjoyment down is that cocky, teabagging Fong Min that seems to be in a bunch of the lobbies. They're one of the most popular characters, one of the most popular survivors that people play. She has one of the biggest catalogs of skins in the game. She gets skins way too much. She's just the most overused character. And honestly, I just do not find this design... They went with her really popular pink bunny outfit. Has the pink bunny ears sloping down and like a bunny on the back. But I've never been a fan of this outfit. And honestly, it's just this Youtooz, it just doesn't do it for me at all. Pink's not my color. Fong Min's not probably my least favorite Dead by Daylight character. Here's her box. Funnily enough, out of the numbers, she actually is technically the first Youtooz at number 0, which makes complete sense because she is 0 to me. But of course, their boxes do have lines on them. So you see the Dead by Daylight symbol in the back there. Lifelong gamer and fierce esports competitor, Fong Min's drive to complete her objective is second to none. Alright, and then I have True Sight. And then, cocky as always, says, "You mad?" with a question mark. So Fong Min is a professional gamer. And basically in the trials, she might... I think it's like she might see that the trials as kind of a game to her. She's also like the loudest survivor in the game. You can hear Fong Min from so far away. She is so loud. But yeah, I do not care for this Youtooz at all. If I wasn't a collector, I would not have bought this Youtooz at all. She's the only one that I would have actively just avoided buying if I didn't want to get all 16 of them. And kind of just another boring looking Youtooz here. I have at the number 15 spot, I have Meg Thomas, one of the OG 4 survivors in Dead by Daylight. And her Youtooz is just kind of, like it's cool. Actually, I feel... Is that a paint? I can't tell if that's a paint smudge right there. Oh, no, it wasn't. Oh, I got it off. But, she's a little bloodied. She got the bandage on her arm. She got the blood on her hands, some blood on her face. More scratches over here. She got some scratches on her legs, right there. So, yeah, she does have blood everywhere. Not a bad Youtooz, per se. It's just, there is a total of 5 survivor Youtooz, and I think that the other 3 are better than Meg. And when you compare it to a lot of the killers, I'm a horror guy. You compare it to a lot of the killers that we'll get to that have really cool designs. She's just not. She's just kind of bland to me. She's kind of just standing there in a power pose, you know, ready to survive. Out of the Youtooz, she is number 6. Which means she was the 7th one, pretty much. But she's survivor number 6. Let me get her box out of here. So, yep, this is Meg's box. Once again, you see the Dead by Daily symbol in the back. Driven by reckless courage, the athletic Meg Thomas has never been afraid to push her limits. Meg gets a thrill out of goading killers in lengthy chases. And the line on top of her box is quick and quiet, which is one of her perks. I should probably mention the perks of the characters. So Fong Min's perks, she has a very popular perk in Lithe, where if you vault, it's an exhaustion perk, where if you vault the window, you get a speed boost, but it does exhaust you. Which means while you're running, your exhaustion ain't going down, but you have to walk or completely stand still to get your exhaustion down. She has Alert, which is whenever the killer takes a break action on a pallet, generator, breakable wall, anything, she sees their aura. So that's a cool perk. I used to use that perk quite a lot. And her last perk is Technician, which I forget what it does, but I'm pretty sure it makes the missed skill checks silent for anybody who's on your generator. I actually forget. Meg has probably the 3 most popular perks in the game. Well, one of them for sure. The other 2 are pretty popular in their own right. She has Quick and Quiet, obviously, which is on her box, which is the first fast rushed action that she takes, like running and jumping over a window or a pallet or fast entering a locker. It's all quiet. It makes no sound effect for the killer to hear. And then it goes on cooldown. She has Adrenaline, which is when the AZ gates are powered, you gain a speed boost and a health state, which means you can go from injured to healthy or from down to injured. Or if you're already healthy, you just get a speed boost. And finally, Sprint Burst, which is you just start running and you get a speed boost, but it does exhaust you, which means you have to walk to get the ability to do that back. Alright, the next character we have here, we are at our first killer now. In my opinion, what is the worst killer Youtooz out of the, let's see, what we have 11 of them are killers, I'm pretty sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 11 of these are killers, 5 of them are survivors, and I think that this is the worst killer one of them, and that is the Trickster. And this simply comes from, I don't really think that this shows, like, the Trickster. Like, he's giggling, and yes, he does laugh and hum to himself through the whole trial, and he does have his signature bat, but they could have easily had this hand, like, up here, and he's just holding knives, or he has the bat, like, back here, and his hand is reaching over here, and he's holding the knife in front of his face, but he has the bat behind him to kind of show his running animation. If anybody's seen Trickster, like, gameplay going against Trickster's running animation, where he kind of throws his bat behind him and runs like that. But he does have some really cool details here with the blood everywhere. And I think Trickster's just simply a cool design. I thought, before I saw this Youtooz, I honestly thought that his hair was more purple, but no, it's like this grayish color, which is interesting. Trickster's 3 perks. First one we have is Hex Crowd Control, which is the first 5 windows Survivor's Vault get permanently blocked. And it'll just keep going in a cycle like that. Like when they vault a 6 vault, that gets blocked, but the vault that got blocked first during the trial will be unblocked and like stuff like that. No Way Out, which is the exit gates are blocked whenever for a certain amount of time, based on the number of unique survivors you hooked when the first survivor interacts with the gate. And then his 3rd perk is Starstruck, which is when he's holding a survivor, carrying a survivor, survivors in his terror radius are exposed. So he is actually number 1 in the Youtooz lineup. And let's see here. He's got some, I do like purple as a color. This is why I thought his hair is purple. There's purple all around him. You had No Control, People Like You Never Did. enjoy this moment, few get so close. And on the top of his box, we have that sound. When you bleed, let me hear it again. So he is kind of, yeah, he is kind of a creep. His main thing is he was a music artist who let his band die in a fire, and he ended up taking all the stardom from it. And eventually, the screams of his band when he escaped and they were stuck there, kind of like, I don't know. I can't think of the correct word, but it made him happy, basically. He really liked listening to the screams. You know, he's super sadistic, so he started kidnapping people and torturing them and mixing their screams into his songs. All right. Put these guys way back there. Fong Min's the only one with a bass, but I think like Meg could have benefited from a bass too. All right. Coming in next is another Survivor Youtooz, and I am honestly super shocked to see this one as low as it was. But this next Youtooz is Dwight. Now, Dwight and the next Youtooz are pretty much tied. They could go any other way. I don't know why, but Dwight just doesn't click for me that much when it comes to the Youtooz. It's cool. It's funny. Dwight's always the one getting bullied in all the trailers and stuff. He's pretty much a meme himself. Always getting bullied, even in the Youtooz. He had to be on the hook, but it's not really a hook, it's just a spike. Like, even if you look up here, like, there's not a hook coming down, it's kind of just a spike that he's on. I know it's supposed to represent the hook, but it doesn't that well. And Dwight's just kind of there. Very interesting approach for a Survivor Youtooz, definitely, though. But yeah, this one just doesn't click for me as much as I think it used to. I think this used to be higher, but yep, that is Dwight. His 3 perks, he has Leader, which gives survivors working on a gen with you, or basically survivors just generally around you, boost to repairing generators. No, that's Prove Thyself. He has Leader, and then he has Bond. I don't know what any of those perks do, but I know that they're fairly popular. Out of all the Youtooz, he is number 7. So let's see what his box says. Now there are some characters here that I'm not going to know what their perks do. We have to work as a team. I need you to survive so that I can survive. Dwight won't stop. He'll survive no matter what. And Prove Thyself. Yeah, Prove Thyself is one of his perks. Prove Thyself, Leader, and Prove Thyself, Leader, and God, what's the next one? What's the third one? Oh, Bond. Okay, so yep, that is Dwight. All right. Next one here, another one, like, Dwight and this one are pretty much tied, but I think I gave this one the edge. And that is Sable Ward, my second favorite Survivor Youtooz that we have. And of course, she's really tiny compared to most of them, like, really tiny. She is on the ground doing her ritual, which is a very interesting perk of hers. She brought into the game what is called invocation perks. It's basically you go into the basement and you can do a ritual. She had the first one, Weaving Spiders, where you can do the ritual, and I think it takes like 2 minutes to do. And when you do, you become permanently injured for the whole trial. You become broken. You can never become healthy. But all the survivors, all the generators have like 10% progress bumped off of them. And then Tori Kane came in with the second invocation perk that's currently in the game, and it's like every time the killer scares a crow, you see their aura, which is just not worth breaking yourself the whole trial to do. But she's cool. I mean, Sable is statistically the most popular, most played survivor of all time in Dead by Daylight. She's been like that pretty much ever since she came out. The Unknown chapter has been very popular, the All Things Wicked. With the Unknown and Sable both being extremely popular, I can see Unknown being one of the next Youtooz we get. And she's kind of just sitting here doing the ritual, and I think she looks super cool. Now, her other two perks all have to do with the basement. So she has Wicked, which is, I think it's when she gets off of the hook in the basement, she's like partially healed. And then Strength and Shadows. No, I think Strength and Shadows is one of them. Both of them. One of them you can yourself unhook attempts in the basement are always successful, and the other one I think it's you can heal yourself in the basement. But that is Sable Ward. There, I want to move this over here then, so they can be centered back there. And of course, let's see what her box says. She is number 8. Well, she was the first one of Wave 3 come out. And I was super surprised when we got her before Michaela. So, here's her box. She's number 8. Sable wasn't about to stay away. Not after that story. It has something to do with the movie theater. This was not the Unknown. Wink, wink. And the dark side made sense to Sable, and she reveled in it. Now, Michaela was one of her best friends in the lore, but Sable, I don't know, she was also into, like, voodoo and stuff. I honestly forget Sable's lore. I don't think her lore was that interesting to me, but she basically went looking for the Unknown and got swept up into the trial along with it. Alright, the next Youtooz I have here, the OG himself, the Trapper, and yep, there he goes. Problem with the Trapper here, he doesn't stand. He's actually bent, so his foot that's supposed to lay flat, well, the blood trail is like bent up, and I really wish that there was a way that I could bend it back, but it's like, it's molded wrong, so I have to kind of, I put his blood trail on the ground, and then I have this paper towel that I just stick under his foot so he'll actually stand. It takes just a second. But yeah, I'm trying to get him to stand. Okay, I think I got it for now. He's stayed standing since I uploaded the last Youtooz ranking, so hopefully he'll still stay standing throughout this. Well, I gotta pick him up, show you. So, super cool. The details on the mask are really cool. I like how they made the eyes, like the rigid carved out, the teeth, the spikes going all up his arms. Oh, that sun's getting into the camera, ain't it? The spikes all up his arms. And of course the sword leaking the blood trail is also really cool. My only problem with this Youtooz is that he just doesn't stand. But that's not going to like take off points at Youtooz. Like I'm not going to. But I could have easily just like bought another one of these and had one that wasn't, bent. But unfortunately, that's just how he came out. That's how he shipped to me. His perks, he is the original killer, so his perks are super basic. He has brutal strength, he breaks pallets and generators faster, he has agitation, he moves faster while he's carrying a survivor, and he has unnerving presence, which makes skill checks harder when you're in his terror radius. He was not in the first wave, he was actually in the second wave. He is Youtooz number 5. So technically number 6. Alright. And the next one I have here is the final Youtooz of Wave 2. Oh wait, I didn't go over the Trapper's box. What am I doing? Alright. So there he is, bully into white some more. When dealing with the Trapper, a simple misstep can prove fatal. You are correct. That's just some super cool art right there. When the frenzy is on, it is hard to contain the blood of his victims. And what became of the man behind the mask. So, short story short, he was a miner who worked in the mines that his dad ran. But his dad was actually a terrible person, a liar, and a horrible father. And eventually, something happened with the Trapper that led to, or with him, that led to his father's death and a bunch of the miners' deaths and his disappearance into the realm. That's a short story short. I don't know everything off the top of my head, so I'm just going to keep it short. I kind of already spoiled it, but the next Youtooz here is the final Youtooz of Wave 2, and that is the Legion. So obviously I think that Wave 2 is the weakest of the 4 waves. But at the same time, when you get above the Meg, Fong, and Trickster, I really do enjoy all of these Youtooz. It was this was not an easy list to make up at all. The Legion's just super cool though. He's got a smiley face, he's got scuffs and blood marks all over his mask. He's holding a knife, he has his pinkies out. I don't know what he's doing with the pinkies out, but the leather jacket with the camo jeans on and the hood, you know, just super cool. Was I super excited that Legion got a Youtooz? He's not one of my favorite killers to play or go against, but he really looks, he's aesthetically cool, that's for sure. Of all these, he is the first one of Wave 2, which means he is Youtooz number 4. Alright, here you have his box. We got the art on the back of him going up against the mirror that was in the trailer. The Legion are a close-knit group of murderous killers linked by the desire to dole out pain in equal measure. Yeah, so they're a grinning mask daring you to run. So the thing about the Legion, the reason why they're called the Legion is because there's actually 4 of them. And the line on the top in the box says, they draw power from the thrilling freedom of not abiding to any rule but their own. The Legion's perks, he has Discordance, which highlights a gen when it's being worked on 2 or more survivors. He has Mad Grit, which means his attacks have no cooldown when he's carrying a survivor. And he has Iron Maiden, which means survivors that exit a locker scream and become exposed. So lockers are super dangerous. Okay, next Youtooz we're getting to our second Youtooz from Wave 3. And that is the Doctor. I was super excited for the Doctor, and this Youtooz doesn't disappoint. But it's kind of just basic. Like, it's the same thing with the Trickster, where I wish it showed his power more. But it's not as bad here, where the Trickster's Youtooz is super boring because it doesn't show the knives. Doctor's, I just wish it had some electricity, maybe some electric like coming out from under his feet or coming out of his hands on the weapon, or having his weapon down here and having lightning in this hand. Kind of like his miniature from the Dead by Daylight board game. I would have liked to see him in that kind of pose, where he has the weapon down here and then he has his other hand up like this holding electricity. Would have been cool. But this Youtooz is kind of just standing here, but Doctor is a very aesthetically cool killer to me. He's also one of the most evil people in the lore, a doctor who does shock therapy just for the sake of causing pain to people, and then he gets hired by the, was it the FBI? I don't know, to do experiments, but eventually he just killed all of them. You see, he even took pleasure in doing experiments on himself. Unless the entity did this to him. He has his eyes pried open, his mouth pried open. He has these things shocking into him. And basically, he becomes the shock therapy. But his Youtooz is just super cool, even if he is just standing there. But, yes, very pleased with the Doctor. His 3 perks, he has Overwhelming Presence. I forget what that does. I think it has something to do with survivors healing in your terror radius. He has Overcharge, which when you kick a gen, it regresses faster, and survivors are met with a difficult skill check when they go to do the gen. And then the third perk is, oh god, what's it called? Monitor and Abuse, which makes your terror radius larger when you're in chase, but smaller when you're outside of chase. He was the last killer or Youtooz of Wave 4, which means that, or Wave 3, which means that he is Youtooz number 11. Let's get his box out here. Okay, so here's his box. The Doctor. Questions of ethics were silenced once the results came in. Even the simplest tasks become exceedingly difficult in the clutches of madness. His power is super fun to go against. Nothing stops a window vault, and his tracks like a healthy dose of shock therapy. Yeah, maybe the chase against the Doctor ain't the most fun, like, at all, but just, like, trying to do a gen, but you just keep screaming and going mad, and it's like the music is ramping up, and you're seeing, like, illusions of them. It just makes your whole game go out of whack, and it's actually pretty fun. Alright, we are finally getting into our first Youtooz from Wave 4, the wave that just arrived to my doorstep a couple days ago. And that is the Nurse. Finally, the Nurse got the Youtooz. We now have all the 4 original killers in the game. Well, we have the 3 original killers, and then the Nurse, who was the 4th one, who came out right after, I think. I don't know. I was not a player of Dead by Daylight. I started playing Dead by Daylight like 2 years ago. So the Nurse is one of the newest ones. And for the Nurse, I think they did what they could. They have her pointing. It's supposed to be her pointing, but from certain angles, it kind of just looks like she's giving you to L, which is what a lot of Nurse mains give you anyway, because they are cracked at the game. I just realized that her weapon's like kind of smiling, like it kind of has the eye. She has, of course, her normal saw blade weapon. She's floating there, and the thing that's interesting is that her head is up, which means she is getting ready to blink, because when she's not getting ready to blink, her head is actually down. Or no, that's the fatigue. But she could barely look forward because her neck is broken. But yeah, super cool Youtooz. We are in the top 8 now. She cracked the top 8 just barely, and I don't know. I think this Youtooz is super cool. It's the only one without a face, so I was wondering if they were actually ever going to do Nurse, because of the fact that she didn't have a face. But you know, they don't always have to have a face to have a smile on. She is the 3rd Youtooz of Wave 4, which means she is Youtooz number 14. One of the newest ones. Even though I ordered these, like, almost a year ago. Something like that. Alright. So here's her box. The Nurse. If you do not stop and catch your breath, she will. Here's some art on the back. The Nurse, as it seems, brings me new angst during my lonely nights as my mind runs amok. And the line on the inside of her box is, the Nurse can end chases with surgical precision. Yes, she can. I do not play Nurse at all. She is really difficult for me to play. And I've tried to be good with her, and I can hit the blinks, but against if you see Survivor, know what they're doing against you, like just running around a rock that you can't really blink through. You can't really catch up to them. She's hard to play, but she is still one of the most powerful killers in the game. Pretty much the most powerful. She pretty much breaks the rules. We're about to have 42 killers in the game. She was the 4th ever killer. And she's pretty much still the most powerful killer in the game, being able to teleport through walls and pallets, basically breaking the rules of the game. But you have to be very, very good with her to get good results with her, because she is one of the killers with the lowest kill rate. Because people who play her usually don't know how to play her. Her 3 perks, she has Strider, which I think just makes your breathing injured sounds louder. It's pretty much only used on the spirit ever. It's not a good perk at all. She has a Nurse's Calling. You see the aura of them when they are survivors when they are healing. And I forget. I can't think of the third one. She has some of the older perks that aren't really used because they're kind of weak. Nurse's Calling's like the only one that I actually ever see used. But I can't think of the third perk, unfortunately. So we're just going to move on. And we have what, in my opinion, is the best Survivor Youtooz out of all of them. And that is Michaela Reed, my girlfriend's main. And probably my favorite original Survivor in Dead by Daylight. She is super cool. Voodoo, barista chick. Basically, she works as a barista in this coffee shop, but she's into, like, magic and voodoo and stuff, and that eventually gets her taken to the realm. As you see, she has all these, like, voodoo-esque tattoos on her. She's in her default outfit. She has the glasses on with the hat and the orange hair. She honestly feels fake. She feels hollow. She feels like a rubber duck. But Michaela, super dope character. One of the more popular survivors in Dead by Daylight. She is Youtooz number 9 out of these. Well, let's get her box open. So here's her box. The Michaela Reed. Stick to the shadows and cover your tracks. A gifted storyteller, Michaela is an unconventional coffee barista with an interest in horror and witchcraft. And the top of her box says, "Does anyone else see that? Just me." Her perks, she was the one who brought in boon perks into the game. Much like the Hag, when the Hag brought hex perks into the game, Michaela brought boon perks into the game, which were Survivor's own little form of hex perks, which were really popular back then, fell off hard, and were not very popular, but they're starting to actually resurface now. Boon perks are starting to get really popular again, it seems. She had boon, I think it was Circle of Healing, which makes you able to heal faster. Basically what boons are is you can bless a totem, and it'll turn blue. And basically, it's if you're in the boon's radius, you heal faster. She has Shadow Step, boon Shadow Step, which is your scratch marks. You don't have scratch marks or running sounds in there. You still in the boon's radius, but you still leave blood. And then her third perk isn't a boon perk. It's I think it's called Clairvoyance, which is when you're empty-handed, you can hold down the ability button and you can see the aura of the hatch. So it's like a end game perk, which I think was also something kind of new to Survivors when she came out. But I don't know. I didn't play when she came out. All right, we have another Youtooz from Wave 3, and this one is just so cool, and that is the Hillbilly. One of my least favorite killers to play, just because I'm simply not good with him, and I think he's not all he's cracked up to be. People say that he's like the third strongest, fourth strongest, fifth strongest killer in the game, but if the survivor runs around a rock, you basically can't get them. You just have to take like the M1 hit, which doesn't feel good playing Hillbilly because you could get them down in one hit. And if a survivor has like Windows, which is a very popular perk, they'll just pre-drop every pallet, and you'll take a while to get to them. But Hillbilly, super cool. He was the third of the He was the third of the original killers to get his Youtooz out. He came out of Wave 3. But yeah, this is pretty much it. He has his hammer. He has his chainsaw. Once again, we're seeing the whole blood trail thing. Him and Trapper are the only Youtooz to do this so far. Hillbilly, even the blood trail, even his foot's a little bent, but he has a lot more things to stand on than the Trapper does. He's dragging his chainsaw. I think the pose at first to me looked a little bit goofy. but I just know it's because that chainsaw was probably too heavy. But really cool Youtooz. Definitely has definitely one of the scarier killers to go against for me. Has really scary terror radius. You hear the chainsaw in the background of it, like coming up to you, and then if you're playing jump scare hillbilly, you could just get hit with a chainsaw out of nowhere, and it's pretty scary to go against him. His perks, he has enduring, which makes his pallet stuns last less time. He has Tinkerer. When his generator gets 70% done, you see its aura and you become undetectable. And Lightborn, which is an infamously hated perk where you basically just can't get blinded. It's basically a waste of a perk slot. So here's this box. The most terrible man to behold. The sound of a revving motor followed by a bloodthirsty scream of rage, and he stops at nothing unless he hits a tree. Another thing about playing hillbilly is that same thing with the Leatherface, the other chainsaw killer. The hitboxes are just super wonky for them. All right. And just missing out on our top 4, I have the first licensed character they did, and that is Ghostface. Now, I do have another Ghostface Youtooz. Let me go grab that real quick. Now, there's a whole bunch of Ghostface Youtooz already, just like normal ones, not the Dead by Daylight version. And I did pick this one up from a local video game store in my area. They just happened to have it. It was like a collectible video game place. He is flocked, as you can see. He's like very velvety. So I had this one. So I was actually debating on buying this Ghostface, but I just could not miss out on it. And I gotta say, this is such a good looking Ghostface Youtooz. He's got the strands hanging off of him that the entity gifted him, and he's in his running pose. This is one of the Youtooz that shows the most action. Like, all of them are kind of just standing there. I mean, Dwight's just kind of hanging around. But he's full-fledged running at you. His Youtooz is super expressive, what he is doing, and I think it just adds so much. Super cool Youtooz. I love the fact that they made his cloak a little gray and then put the black stripes in. Before his Youtooz came out, I didn't actually realize that was like what his looked like. But here's my other Ghostface Youtooz. Kind of just have him pointing. But yeah. So the one Youtooz that I did actually debate buying, but I just couldn't help myself. All right. And he is our top killer, or top Youtooz of Wave 3. Alright, let's get his box out. So here's his box. He is number 10. His work in Roseville had been out... What's happening here? Let's focus. His work in Roseville had been outstanding. So here's him peeking around the corner. 2 victims had reported being followed on their way home by a dark figure a few days prior to their death. When he felt the urge to kill, he'd visit the most vulnerable victim on his list and break inside the house quietly. So this Ghostface is not Billy Loomis or Stu Macher or Mickey Aldieri or Nancy Loomis or whatever her name is. It's not Prescott, whatever, Roman. It's not any of them. Any of them movie Ghostfaces. This is an all-original Ghostface. Made by Dead by Daylight using the Ghostface mask. Danny Johnson, who strived to be a famous serial killer in his area, and he got what he wanted by dressing up as Ghostface and murdering. Alright. And now we are in our top 4. And kicking off our top 4 was, I'm pretty sure, my... I don't think her place has changed. She is definitely my second favorite of the first half of the Youtooz that ever came out, and it is the Huntress. This Youtooz till this day is just super... Oh, excuse me. It's just super cool. She's got like the half cut off bunny ear. Still don't understand why she's like crouching. But there's just, I think the thing that really makes this Youtooz pop really is just all the colors and the hatchets. There's a lot going on with this Youtooz. You got this axe here that looks super cool, bloodied, and then you have the little hatchet, the cute little hatchet she's holding. And I think just like this Youtooz just has a lot more detail going on in it than some of the ones that we've talked about prior. And that's pretty much all I need to say. This Youtooz is just really, really, really cool. Oh, also, I forgot to talk about Ghostface's perks. Furtive Chase, I think it's when he hooks the obsession, he becomes undetectable. I'm all ears, which is when a survivor does a rushed action near you. You see their aura. Really good on killers that need the aura, like Pyramid Head and Nurse. And then he has Thrilling Tremors, which is when you pick up a survivor, all generators not being worked on are blocked, so it kind of tells you where to go next. But yeah, Huntress, super cool. Definitely super, super expressive in her Youtooz. I think the detail that went into that one is just pops a lot more than the ones before her. Alright, let's get to her box here. Armed with throwable hatchets, the Huntress is a constant threat to survivors. Right? We're not safe anywhere. And the line on the inside of her box is, does anyone hear that song? Huntress is probably the most iconic killer, second to Trapper from Dead by Daylight. Her whole thing is she hums a lullaby that you can hear across the entire map. It gets louder and louder the closer she is to you, even if you're not in her terror radius. You're constantly hearing it. It gets more and more deranged, like she'll start laughing to herself. And she is, in my opinion, the most accessible killer in the game. She has a super low skill floor, but a super high skill ceiling. Her power is literally just you throw hatchets. That's it. You just throw hatchets. But some of the things that you can do with her hatchet throws are insane. And if you become a cracked Huntress player, you are one of the most feared players in the entire community. But it's always a joy to go up against a Huntress. Alright. And here we have my favorite character in everything. My favorite character out of anything, period. And that is Springtrap in the number 3 spot. These Youtooz, Wave 4 of the Youtooz got announced basically right after Springtrap came out, and they spent no time jumping on the hype train for Springtrap, and they gave him a Youtooz immediately, which people were not happy about. But I have one. Now, this is Springtrap, so obviously I'm super biased, and that's why he's so high. But I do have one glaring problem with this Youtooz, and it's that this doesn't have to be a Dead by Daylight Youtooz. This could easily just be a Springtrap Youtooz. He doesn't have his knife, he doesn't have his axe, but regardless, it is Springtrap, which means that it is dope. I just realized I forgot to talk about the Huntress's perks, which all suck. She probably has the worst perks in the game. I can't tell you what they do. I know it's Beast of Prey, Huntress's Lullaby, and I forget the third one. Bloodhound, is that what it is? Bloodhound? But yeah, we have Springtrap, or in the game he's called the animatronic here. And he is labeled as he is labeled as a Dead by Daylight X Five Nights at Freddy's. But let's get into the detail of this figure. Super cool. You see all of his guts poking through. You see the tendrils down by his feet. And he's kind of just in his little jump scare pose here. The mouth, I am glad that it is not painted on there. It's like actually hollow in there. I'm glad that you can see the details under his mask. Got the eyes. And it's just Springtrap. It's the first spring. It's not the first Springtrap Youtooz I got. I have the I got the Glitch Trap Youtooz and the Matthew Lillard Springtrap. Yeah, you know what? Let me go grab that. Yeah, I think this is probably my favorite. I think I like this one more. This is the Yellow Rabbit Youtooz, who does have a removable head in case you want to replace his head with Matthew Lillard's. But that head is in a box right now, and I'm not digging it out. And he also has one of the few heads that you can turn, so you can pose him any way you want. But I think I usually just go with the movie pose, which is like this. But yeah, again, Matthew Lillard's skin is also in Dead by Daylight. There's these two combined, or next to, side by side from each other. And the more I look at his Youtooz, the more I just want to go into Dead by Daylight and play Springtrap, because Springtrap is dope as hell. In anything. Everything. Springtrap is dope. In the game, he's dope. His power's super cool, with the jump scare ability and the door monitors and the cameras. Alright. He's always watching. Here's the front of his box. We got like the party area on the back here. Beneath the cruelty lies a brilliant inventor whose creations brought laughter and screams to the same unfortunate audience. Springtrap's one of the most morally evil people in Dead by Daylight. Even out of all the killers, he's one of the most morally evil. Here's a Fazbear's special. One of the lines that he says in the game when he's going to Mori you. Also has other lines like, I'm the fun one, or the darkest pit of hell is open for business. You know, so happy they gave... Springtrap is definitely the killer done right. Probably the killer I think they did the most right since the Unknown. Dracula came out really good too. But yeah, Springtrap's 3 perks. He has Haywire, which makes the exit gates regress when they're not being worked on. He has Phantom Fear, which is when a survivor looks at you, they scream, which is a really good endgame perk in case you have that one last survivor that you just can't find and they're like sneaking around the whole time. Or that one's, or like when you're walking around a gen that has progress and you can't find nobody, and then they look at you and scream. But it does have a lengthy cooldown of 60 seconds. It's definitely, I definitely run into it like every 6 to 7 games though. It is a pretty popular perk right now. And we have I forget what it's called. Oh, Help Wanted. I'm pretty sure it's called Help Wanted. The perk where you kick a generator and it becomes compromised, just like the Singularities perk. And when that gen's completed, your successful hit cooldowns are severely lowered, which makes you a force to be reckoned with. Alright, getting into the runner-up best Youtooz. And I know I said Springtrap's my favorite character in anything, but it doesn't mean that his Youtooz looks the coolest out of all these. It's just really up there. I can't let my bias completely say that he's cooler than these top 2, because these top 2 are just the coolest when it comes to like their pose. Because I think Springtrap definitely could have done some things right for a Dead by Daylight Springtrap. He could have definitely had the axe or even just the giant pizza cutter that he uses. But who used to be in my number 1 spot is now the runner-up, and that is the Wraith. And the Wraith still has not lost all of his swag. Super cool Youtooz still. He has the bell with the smile on it. He has the weapon with the smile on it. Meanwhile, the Wraith just looks so upset. And I also did just equip my Dead by Daylight hat with my newly obtained Wraith fidget pin with the ringable bell. The Trapper and the Legion ones are on their way as well. But yeah, just super cool. He's got the spikes coming out of his head, and this is definitely the Youtooz that they did right. You know, he's got his weapon, he's got his bell, he has a super striking pose, and he's coming out of a cloud, pretty much. His whole thing is he can ring the bell, like the ding ding, and he comes uncloaked because he's invisible before that. And once again, he's also just one of the most morally gray characters in the lore. Like he was in the middle of a war, and he killed people as a kid. Started working at this at Auto Haven, this demolition yard for cars. Basically, his boss was basically having him crush and kill people without him knowing it. When he would crush the cars, he was basically crushing bodies too. And he found out about it, murdered his boss, and his boss's spine, in a way, became his weapon. Alright, so here's his box. He was the final Youtooz of Wave 1 and number 3. So we got the Wraith, there's his box. There's another apparition more terrifying than anything I've seen, hunting amongst the shadows here. Watch out, it's not safe here. And the line on the inside of the box is, oh, don't move, don't blink, and don't breathe. One of my least favorite killers to go against, for sure, though. I do not like going against Wraith at all. Alright. Over there. He was my number 1, but my number 1 has been changed. Now, of course, I don't know if, like, this order that the Youtooz are in changed from my old list. I'm not sure. I didn't go back and watch, but I will after this. See if my ranking of the first 8 that came out has changed at all. But coming in at number 1 is going to be the Blight, another one of our newest Youtooz. And this one, me and my girlfriend just did a ranking where we each individually ranked the killers on how much we like to go against them. And then we combined them to a set score. The Trickster got last place on both of our lists, so he got 41 points from both of us, which means he had 82. And basically, the higher the number you had, the lower you are. Blight got a 20 because he is my favorite killer to go up against. I gave him the number 1 spot, but my girlfriend hates going up against him. He's the only killer that she's scared of to go against. But she actually ranked him at a pretty generous 19, which gave him 20 points. The Demogorgon was our number 1, though, with her giving him the top spot and me giving him the second spot. Love going up against Demo. He's just such a fun time to go against. And it's always so exciting to see a Demogorgon. But he does have the blight branches, the thorny branches wrapping around his feet. He does have the 6 fingers on each hand. That is not a detail that they missed. He's got the cane. He's got the oozing mouth with all the teeth. He's just like he's just one of those super unique looking Youtooz out of all of these. And I think the Blight's design is just super cool with like the, whatever you call it, his cane and the melty face just looking super cool. He's also like the heaviest Youtooz out of all these. He's really heavy. Not really heavy, but he's heavy compared to the other Youtooz. The only thing I find disappointing about him is that he doesn't have any lines on his boxes. Right here, you got the art on the back. He's got a little blighted rabbit or 2 down there. Got the art. There's not even a line down here on this side or this side. The only line is here. Death is only the beginning. His whole thing is he's an alchemist. And basically he experimented with this flower that he found in the realms, and it had like properties that were like similar to adrenaline in a way, and he experimented with them, and it basically melted his face and turned him into that. The Blight is also the catalyst to one of the best, if not my favorite, collections of skins in Dead by Daylight, the Blighted skins, where they just turn all the other killers, they just like completely destroy them internally and externally, and then make them ooze orange and stuff like that. Super cool skins. Even though I think those skins came before the Blight, and then they just decided to turn the Blight into the skin. And the Blight skins have become a thing that have released on every Halloween sense, including Springtrap getting one. But yep, that is Blight. Number 1, super fun to go against. I didn't go over what Wraith's perks do because I have no clue what any of them do. He has like Predator, Shadowborn, and I can't think of the name of the other one. The Wraith and Huntress definitely tied for the worst teachable perks in the game. The Blight's perks, he has Blood Favor, which is a Hex perk, which means survivors can get rid of it. Basically, when he hits you, pallets are blocked. He has Dragon's Grip, which is when you kick a gen. If a survivor interacts with that gen in the next 60 seconds, they scream and become exposed, which means they are one shot down. And his third perk is... What is it? It's not Undying. No. Why did I think it was Undying? Is it Undying? I think it's Undying. Which is the perk where hex perks that are cleansed go to Undying. And it also shows you the aura of survivors near totems that aren't lit. I think it's Undying. I might be wrong on that one, though. But, yep, that is my ranking. Coming in, I also, like, Wave 2 is my least favorite, seemingly. Then it goes Wave 1, then Wave 3, and Wave 4 is my favorite. I think all of them slapped. All of them did really good. But, yeah, that's pretty much it. That is my ranking. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.